Wholeness, Balanced Love Vibrations. Welcome to another Sacred Light conversation. I am your host, Marcus Robbins, for Crystal Light 33. And our guest today is Maya. And she is currently working on becoming a conscious discipline instructor. And our topic that we're going to discuss is going to be on conscious parenting, being able to be in tune with the children, yourself, um, knowing how to be in the heart and ultimately serve in a more pure and spirited way when it comes to guiding our children. Um, and with that being said, I'm just going to go ahead and hand it on over to Maya and leave the space open.
Thank you so much for having me.
You're welcome.
So a lot of what I'm studying, as Marcus said, is conscious discipline. So really the concept of it all is shifting from a fear program, what we are programmed, most of us, not all of us, but a lot of us, into love. So a lot of that, parents can tend to, look at their children from a space of fear, in a sense of, for example, like some people say, like, if a child is playing and they don't want their child doing that, and they're saying, what are you doing? Or if their children are fighting, don't make me come in there, and that kind of thing. It's kind of like, it's positive parenting. So instead of having a negative perspective, we want to train ourselves individually first and be the model for the child, how to have a positive perspective. So, like, how do we do that,
Yeah.
So
How do we do that? How do we do that?
Okay, so I talked to you a little bit about this before, but a lot of times when we're overwhelmed or upset, and this is backed by brain research, a lot of the stuff that I'm studying and I'm a student of, when we're upset, we will automatically start operating from the lower center of our brain instead of our frontal lobe. So it's about bringing awareness to ourselves of, okay, the light bulb's going on. I'm operating in parts of my lower centers of my brain right now, and I need to be aware and bring consciousness to that and awareness to that, and start operating from my frontal lobe, the higher centers of the brain. And in order to do that, we need tools. We need to learn how to kind of deprogram ourselves. We need to look into the inner child and examine how we are raised. What examples did we see in relationships? And we also need to look at our inner thoughts individually, and think, okay, however I'm thinking, I'm projecting that onto children. And what's also really cool about this is it applies to not only children, but it applies to your marriage, your partnership, your relationship with other people outside of you. Because, like I said, it really is about healing the inner child and healing each person. You can't force anyone to change. And a lot of times as parents, we want to they want to control the child or make the child do this, and we can't make anyone do anything. We can only, bring up tools and offer them a chance to make a positive choice. And by doing that, we have to come from a place of love and compassion and awareness. So that's why I think it's really appropriate for your call, because everything about operating from a place of higher consciousness, we need to do that in order to evolve, and we need to do that in order to create healing generations and heal generational traumas and triggers that we kind of carry with us, and we're able to change that. That's awesome.
Yeah. So when you're talking about the parts of the brain, that bottom part, is that referred to as the reptilian mind?
You could refer to it as that, yes.
Okay.
That's why I think it's pretty cool. So for anyone who's listening, Dr. Becker, Dr. Becky Bailey is who I've learned a lot of this from. So she's been doing it for quite a while, but she has been starting to implement it into public school systems, which is, I think, really important because I don't know about you, but I definitely had teachers growing up that were just not, I mean, a lot of people didn't have the tools. And actually, she was implementing this like during that time. So it's really far reached out. Obviously, more people need it. You can use, I'm a homeschooling mother, you can use it in your homeschooling, like I said, in your day-to-day life with anyone. Um, but I think it's really important to see the change. And there's a lot of success stories with this because it operates with the brain. And when we connect with our children, and we need the sense of touch. That's what I wanted to touch on too. We need the sense of touch because when we touch another person, like centers of our brain just like light up.
Oh yeah.
And it's like, you know, all the senses that we have, the sense of touch is the one thing like we could literally die without. So like we need that. And so if we go throughout our day with our children, and even with your partner, this is something I realized in my relationship lately we've been working on. You know, you're busy doing little things throughout the day, and you have children. Sometimes we forget to like connect, like reconnect with them. And if they're acting out, it's like they're longing for that like sense of touch, that sense of love, that sense of connection. And so like when you can stop, um, Becky Bailey has a book about this too. It's called I Love You Rituals, and you stop and you do a little I love you ritual, and it just involves just like connecting with them in the moment, and just like hands and eye connection and hand touch, and just it could be like 10 seconds, it could be a minute long, whatever. And so she gives examples of this, and like with my daughter, I'll take her hand and we'll go like round and round the garden, goes the teddy bear, one step, two step, and we'll do tickle under there, like that. And just like a little, you know, like you got the touch, you got the like reconnection, and it just helps um, kind of with that bond.
Yeah. And the palm is like a very sensitive energy center too. So
Yeah,
whenever we're like rubbing on it with our fingers or just like going in circles, you can like feel like the sensations there because of the energy center.
energy.
It's really
Yeah,
interesting. Um, yeah, I think that's amazing that they're implementing it in the schools because it's so important. I feel like that children have the correct tools and guidance into developing into their whole self. And they spend so much time at school from pre-K all the way up to senior year of high school. And uh, I know when I was growing up, there wasn't really any conscious classes or real conscious teachers that were trying to implement any healthy practices. And I feel like it's such a blessing that the children now, then future generations, are now being able to experience that in the schools. And um, to see us develop into what we've developed into without that stuff in schools is like, wow, I wonder what they're going to be like when they're
yeah,
full grown adults and they're being trained through that stuff during their school time.
that's huge. I do. I was thinking about that the other day too. I was thinking, you know, really there's no need to worry because if you and I trust in what we're doing, and we know that we're providing the tools, and we know where we came from and how we got to where we are, you know, we're helping along with others to like build that groundwork. And especially if it's connected to our children or people we know, it's going to extend out extend out into our circle. So
Hmm.
yeah.
Yeah, and the great thing about kids is like, when they're at school or they're with their friends, they kind of like to talk about like, what happens at home or what they're doing with their parents. So it's uh kind of cool, if say you're practicing these things with your kids, and then they go to school, and then they're like, they're all happy and stuff, and sharing these things with their friends, and then next thing you know, their friends could mention it to their parents or something.
Yeah, that's so huge. Yeah. Or like if you get together in a meetup, I've had this happen to me before, like, because you still have some people, and I still have parts of myself I'm still working on too, and like reprogramming, but there are other people that maybe are just starting out on the path, and they're like, how do you get your, like, how come like she doesn't like, I mean, I have a 6 month old and a 3 year old. I didn't preface that, but I have a 6 month old and she'll be 3 next month. And although he's 6 months old, like she just loves him to death. And that depends on each child. Like every child's different. Every child is coming into this world with different kind of karma, different kind of past lives, all that kind of stuff that we still have to take into consideration. And as parents too, we have our own kind of karma and like personal ties to them through past lives that we are still working out karma with them. And there may be reasons we butt heads that are like beyond like this physical life and like tools that we have that kind of go deeper into like the Akashic records, right? So like that's a whole nother thing.
Yeah.
but but like for example, I have a cousin and she has 3 boys, and she's like, oh, like I can't believe like my son just said like gave me back the baby and said I'm done playing this game, like like kind of thing like that. And I had both my children at home, and so I think it really helped, and that's one of the reasons why I wanted to have them at home too. But I think it really helped with my daughter to see my son literally come out of me, and she helped me, and it was just powerful. It wasn't like I came home with him one day and there he was. So like I could see her maybe acting like that or having that, kind of reaction to the baby if I did kind of just like randomly pop in the house with the baby. But when they're able to see that, kind of make that connection. So it's like really, I feel like holistically done. Sometimes people have medical emergencies that they have to go to the hospital, and that's okay. But it's like kind of trying to create those moments of connection for the children so they can like understand and have less reactions of like repulsivity towards us, I guess you could say, you know?
Yeah. I mean, there's a couple of things that come to mind, like thinking about that and how that could affect them. And um, one thing is definitely like that that kind of like that raw purity of life, like what life is. Like there's no way around the fact that like a woman births a child. Like, it's not like some crazy dark fantasy or something. It's just life. It is what it is.
Yeah.
It's actually a beautiful thing. So to not like try to separate it and put it in a box and kind of like uh put it in a way to where it's like bad or negative for children to experience, um kind of frees their mind, I feel like, because it's definitely the nature of life. And like you were saying, it'll then kind of condition them to where they just understand what it is. And um, it's like whenever it's like certain things like that that are just like really like true and raw and real, there's just like something in our consciousness that kind of unlocks or connects to source, really. And um, I could see how that could help them uh, remember and develop a little bit quicker and understanding the process. And yeah, I just think that's amazing because then it also uh, shows the realness of, it actually is like, your child like coming out of you instead of, like you were saying, just walking home one day with the baby. And it's not like, this mystical like thing to them. They actually understand it. And then, as she gets older, she had already experienced that. So then it's not going to be repulsive, like you were saying.
Yeah, and I think some parents, because I had this thought myself, and I really did like prep her, and I actually like bought like it was like a small little book about like a home birth book, and it had a lot of words for her to probably understand, but I kind of just like rephrased them into smaller sentences as I read the book to her before the baby came and stuff like that, and it shows, you know, like the home birth experience. It was actually an unassisted home birth book, but I think some parents can worry about when like a woman is at birth, like having a lot going on. So like if the child is like running around and sometimes it just depends. Like a lot of animals in nature go into their own space and they just birth by themselves. Some women like to have a lot of group around them, and like each birth is different, so you could feel one way this time and one way this time, you know. So I understand that, and luckily I have a really great support system. My partner was just able to be with her, and it all kind of just it flowed and it happened, and it was really cool. So yeah, you know, life and death is everywhere around us. Like we're surrounded by it, and me personally, I don't feel like I would want to like hide that or deny that fact. And like for literally yesterday, we saw there's this cat in our neighborhood we see all the time. He's like just a stray cat, and he'll run and catch bunnies and squirrels, and yesterday it was a rat somewhere. Anyway, so I mean that's just his instinct. That's what he does, and he'll leave them at like someone's doorstep. It's kind of funny. But anyway, we found a rat the other day, and we do play dates sometimes with people in the neighborhood, and there are some parents that are like, oh, I don't want my child to see that, and like they take them inside, and you know, and I
Yeah.
just show Luna, I'm like, yes, you know, that's what happens. And then the fly, she's like, why is there flies on them? I'm like, you know, the flies use his body parts, and sometimes it's nutrition, and spirit takes his soul, and his body stays, and so like we picked little like flowers, and we just like laid them next to him, you know, and just like have that respect for like life and death instead of just being like, I don't want you to see that, you
Yeah.
know. It's like I'm sure it's sad, and she had a sad reaction like the first time she saw something, and she was like, I think it was like a dead lizard, and she's like, oh my gosh, you know, because like precious life, and like it's okay to feel that, and I like validated, you know, like that it is really really sad to see like some souls go, but they all come back again. Everything cycles, and she was like, "Why are the ants eating it? No, ants don't eat it," you know, kind of thing like that. And I had to explain that process. So I
Yeah.
think it does like when we like help them through it and talk about it instead of like ignoring it. It definitely builds that like connection and makes them like a little bit more understanding as they grow older.
Yeah. And then, um, I mean, conscious beings just as much as we are, and and I feel like when we do shut off those kind of things, we could potentially just be blocking them up and making them, I don't want to say making them, but we're also kind of like guiding them into living in a uh, kind of half life, not being their whole self, and being accepting and understanding the wholeness of life. Because if we're just blocking them off from seeing death and stuff like that, then it's gonna like terrify them when they get a little bit older and start figuring out these things, and then um, it could lead to so many problems. A lot of
That's big. That's big because in conscious discipline, what I'm studying here, they do talk about like even with like the sense of loss or the sense of abandonment or whatever it may be. Like when we come from a space of ignoring it and just like avoiding it, like you said, it can create problems down the road. So we need to take those moments as moments and look at them and rephrase them in our head and perspectives as this isn't something to be scared of, it's a teaching moment. And so when we can stop and like take a deep breath and say, okay, like think it through, because like it's hard, like if you just like, you know, you're a parent and you haven't thought, that's why it's good, like, educate ourselves in the process, and you hadn't thought of, like, how am I going to teach my child about, like, death and birth and all that kind of stuff, and you just happen to come across it someday. If, like, you come across a bunny birthing babies, or a lizard had just died in front of you, and then your child has this reaction, maybe you didn't prep yourself for it, and you just have to, like, take a deep breath. Some people haven't thought about it, and they're just like, oh, let's go this way, and ignore it. Or you can, like, really sit with it and let them examine it, and, like, try and explain from the best place possible. For example, when I was, oh gosh, let's say it's about, like, I think it was 6 years ago, my grandfather passed away on my paternal side, and everyone in that family just, like, once he died, like, we never talked about it. It was like this big elephant in the room. And it's like, but, like, how is everyone handling and dealing with these emotions, like, and I'm the type of person that likes to talk about things and, like, cherish those moments. So I think when we stuff that down inside, like you said, it can manifest into anything. So it's important to be able to talk about it, have a space to talk about it, and especially with your parents, or even if you're in a relationship with a partner, like, feel comfortable enough in that relationship that you can go to that person and ask them questions about it.
Yeah, I definitely agree. Uh, yeah, another big thing is just for people out there that tune in is to open up and be willing to talk and reach out for support. A lot of us have a lot of support around us, and we kind of shut ourselves off from it. Um, this is such a big thing, a common theme, I feel like, especially with humanity, is uh, believing so firmly that we have to literally do everything by ourselves.
Mm.
Like, we can't reach out and have support and help. Like, we have to do it alone. And through my own experiences, every time that I, tried separating myself, which if everybody knows, we can't separate ourselves truly. Um, it's like I hit a brick wall and I just, like, come across these problems, and it comes back around every time to me being closed and not open to those around me, the support I have. And ever since I started just, freely being open to support and asking for help, everything's been so much more easier and peaceful. And not only does it help me, but it also allows other people to be able to be in their best and be able to help as well.
Oh, that's so deep. I agree with that. Uh, Speaking of conscious discipline, because you have to look at the inner child. So, like, when I got in this relationship with my partner and I had children, my mother, she was a very independent woman, and, like, just never really asked anyone for help. And so, like, I kind of took that on myself because it's what I saw, it's what I witnessed. And so it was so dang hard for me to, like, ask for help. And, like, as you know, like, when it takes a village to raise a child, and it was so overwhelming for me. It was causing stress in my relationship. It was causing me to get sick, like, physically sick, and just, it was causing me to not operate from the higher centers of my brain with my child. And it was just too much, and I was like, this is not my path. Like, I didn't feel like, I was like, I need some tools. And that's what made me dive into all this, because I was like, I mean, I know we have to, like, reprogram ourselves, but, like, I didn't necessarily have the tools of, like, I needed structure. Like, I'm like a structure person. Like, I needed some kind of, like, regime to help me, because, like, when you have a child or children plural, it's just like you got to clean up this. Yeah, so many thoughts in your head. And so
I bet.
it's definitely not only your thoughts but their thoughts, because they're asking you something like 25 times. So it's been really helpful for me to be able to like have tools, and like if I'm feeling frustrated, be able to say, you know, like say it out loud, like mommy feels frustrated right now, like I need to take a deep breath, or and just being able to like model that too to my children is just like huge. And not only to me, like for my partner too. So like we're kind of like learning it together now. And so yeah, that's a big one. Communicate, have the skills to communicate what we need and help, and yeah.
Yeah, not only communicate, but also listen and be able to comprehend. I feel like that's so big too, um, because there's so many times often where um, we could just be waiting to instantly say the next thing while the other person's talking, and then we just completely don't even engage with what they're trying to express, and yeah, that can cause some problems, and it could kind of disrupt the connection. I feel like because someone could be sharing something like really important to them, but we're still stuck in our own mind, just waiting to say something else instead of actually listening to what they have to say.
That's the yeah. That's it's like that. Yeah. I try and think of it too as when I'm with my child or anyone's children, to like really as best as we can like listen to them. Like I think children deserve to be respected and to have that. And a lot of times people kind of just just shut
And
up.
it's a big thing, I feel like, is that children get looked at as less than, or like they can't have a valid point because they're a child. And um, yeah, I mean, those of us that are conscious know that children have so much intelligence, and they're more connected to the purity uh, due to not being in this world as long.
Yeah, my daughter has taught me to like, we're teachers for our children. That's one thing, but they're also like huge teachers for us. And so to see that relationship go hand in hand and honor it and respect it throughout the day and throughout your journey, um, I think is big. And she's taught me a lot to just like forgive. Like they're so unconditionally loving and like pure. And like I see, like I've learned myself over the years that I've held on to things that I should have I needed to let go. And so like I get frustrated for her and with her in the moment, and like the next moment if she's frustrated with me or something like that, and then I'll see like, okay, she can like give me a hug like 5 seconds later, like it never happened. And I'm like, wow, like it's just like they can let go. And as they get older, their opportunity to do that can become less. You know what I mean? Like if it's not honored, and if it's not like the relationship worked on between the child and the parent. And so I always try and like take moments like that and be like, yeah, like everything like centers like around like love and forgiveness and compassion, and having empathy with our children is huge. Like
Yeah, big time. Um, so I have a couple of questions. First question is, how long ago did you you and Brandon um, get into, just thinking about getting into this conscious parenting?
well, for me it was something like I knew I knew as soon as I found out I was pregnant with my daughter, I was like, I know. I think every generation has this, right? Like I know I want to do things differently because of what happened to me, or because of what I went through. So like for me it was definitely like I want my daughter to be able to like know that I'm very empathic. So like to know that being sensitive is okay, to like grow up with this connection with spirit. And I was raised Catholic, so I had like the sense of God, and I'm really grateful that I was able to like have kind of that experience, but I wanted her to know that it's like an all-encompassing thing. It's not a man in the sky, it's source, it's creator. And so I I knew I was going to do things really differently than any and all of my family members, and it's definitely been an interesting path. And I didn't, until I started really like reading into this stuff and like diving into this specific work, which was about like, I would say like a year ago or 2 years. It was when Luna was 1 year old. So it was like 2 years ago, 2 3 years ago. Did I really say like, we need the tools to be able to like do this. It's one thing to say like, I want to be a positive parent and like be positive all the time around your child, but like it's difficult if you don't have the tools to do it.
Oh yeah.
And to have some kind of like Brandon, my partner, really likes like kind of the research, like the brain research behind things, and so that was like really helpful, and like that's what kind of really got him on board. It took me a couple of times. I'm like, you gotta listen to this book. It's awesome. Like, it's just like, it's not just, for me anyway, it's not just like any kind of like positive parenting book. You know, they say like you can read all the books you want, but like every child's different, every relationship's different, and that is true. But this like, gives really great results and research, and yeah, it's really cool because she connects it with spirituality and how like, and empathy, which was huge for me as like an empath. Like, like if your child is upset and you tell them to go to their room, like I said, like that should be a teaching moment. We shouldn't be disconnecting from them. We need to like connect, or like, so like one of the things I've learned is it's called STAR. So you like, whenever something happens, we stop, take a deep breath, and relax. Like that's the first thing that we can do to begin to operate from our higher centers of the brain compared to the lower.
Yeah.
And so like, we do that, we hold the child's hand, and there are times if they're super upset that they may not want to do that, and that's okay. You just sit there and you'll do the breathing for them until they can join, even if it's one breath or something like that. But the goal is to be able to do that exercise before they get to a point of like meltdown, So it's becoming aware of those little like telltale signs up into like a tantrum. It's okay to have tantrums. Like we as adults have tantrums if things don't go our way or we get frustrated. And children have like half a brain compared to us as adults. Actually, women don't, what's the age? 21 and 25. For men, it's 25. For women, it's 21 until our brain is fully developed. So like, really we're working with someone who has like, even though they're pure and they're in a beautiful state, when it comes to like emotional regulations and certain chakras that aren't fully developed yet, we definitely need to be able to like understand that in the moment instead of getting so frustrated. So when we can teach ourselves, so that's like a huge thing, whenever we're nervous, frustrated, whenever someone cuts us off on the road, to practice stop, take a deep breath and relax. Then we can be like, okay, compassion, love. This is where I want to act from. This is where I want to talk from.
Yeah.
This is where I want to teach from. So like that's the biggest thing to model it, and then our children can model it. And actually, it's funny because Dr. Becky Bailey talks about this on an example of hers, but my daughter has actually done it too because I have a child, and if my baby gets upset, she'll tell the baby, it's okay, take a deep breath. It's really cute because when you're learning something, it's one thing to learn it and it's another thing to teach it, and it helps you really fully integrate it when you can like start to teach it to other people. So like you said, they're starting to do this in school systems now. So when they go and talk to their friends, they can give their friends those tools that their friends may not be getting at home, So it really is just like, like a huge effect.
Yeah. That's beautiful. That shows a lot of light and a lot of hope for the future and this system that we're in. Then, so my next question was, what is Or what are some techniques or practices that you guys use regularly with your children that
So,
develop, this conscious connection with each other?
so that's one of them, the star thing. There's another one, and it's basically giving them tools again. So, and using conflict as a sense of a teaching moment. So like, even if it's between child and parent, or even if it's between child or whoever, a stranger or a neighbor, or whoever, if, for example, a child wants to hear the children fighting and the one person wanted a toy and they grab the toy and they start, fighting over it. And like you just hear the bickering and you come in and you just heard the last thing that happened, okay? And sometimes we'll automatically like blame or put on the other person. So
Yeah.
one of the things that I like to practice is that's based on the conscious discipline model that comes with 7 core skills for conscious discipline. Is being able to say, okay, you didn't want her to take your toy. Or like, if they're sitting on the couch, you wanted her to move and she hit you. And you tell them, did you like that? So it puts everything back onto the child. What did you feel in that moment, And if she says like, he or she says, I didn't like that, then you tell them, I don't like when you push me over. Please scoot over. So you're giving them tools and you're getting down on their level instead of like yelling from the kitchen. You know what I mean? Like you gotta take the time, for us anyway. I think it's huge for us to take the time to put in the work now when they're younger. So and like get down on their level when I can. It's hard when I have a baby, but like I'll stop with the baby on my hip or in the carrier, get down and like explain to my daughter, okay, you didn't want her to take your toy. Tell her, this, and this. And and from a place of love, and that way they have the tools to be able to talk next time instead of resorting, because they have half a brain, resorting to hitting and throwing and yelling, So when you give them the tools in that scenario, they're able to use it next time instead of resorting to like the constant hitting. If we're not using as or arguing or yelling, if we're not using it as a teaching moment, it's just going to keep the repetitive arguing, yelling, throwing, whatever, because, think of that in relationships too, just in your partnership or your marriage. Like, did you have the tools to be able to communicate and say, like, I don't like when you call me names when you're frustrated, like you can tell me you're frustrated in the moment and so on, and like we can work through it. So with all that said, if a child, like if my daughter is frustrated or something like that, I'll say, you seem frustrated or you seem upset. You mirror back to them. So like if she's scrunching her nose, I'm like, you're scrunching your nose and your body is telling me that you seem upset. We don't use definite terms like you're angry right now, because we can like kind of feel how they're feeling, but we don't always know what they're feeling. Maybe they're feeling something else, So
Yeah.
it's just like, we like to use the word seem. That way, if it's anything else, they can say, no, actually, I'm like tired, or no, I just wanted this, So like, you seem upset, or you wanted, so like you wanted your toy back, or you wanted to put your purple pants on instead of your red pants, and that's why you were upset, and or something like that, So saying you wanted and you seemed is like a really big one that we use, like before we can catch, like before it escalates to it like a tantrum or something like that. And like I said, you can use that with your partner too, like they come home from work or something and they're just kind of like upset. Sometimes we don't know like that's exactly what we're feeling in the moment. We're not constantly, although it'd be nice if we could somehow, we're not constantly tuning into our body and realizing how we feel, realizing how the outside is like affecting us, So like my partner comes home from work and is kind of like getting frustrated or something, I can say like, you seem like you had a really long day, like that must be like feel really hard. Like, why don't you like take a break and I'll do this and then we can switch later or something like that, you know? So yeah, kind of just empathizing.
Yeah, I learned a lot the hard way a couple of times on just saying that someone's firmly something, like
Mm.
saying you're angry or something, you know.
Yes.
Yeah, a lot of
It's so
backlash, a lot of backlash. Oh man, great stuff though. I mean, that is just beautiful to see, and I'm so glad that you're teaching these things to your children. That's it's amazing. And going back to what you were talking about with uh, like the go to your room type of deal. I can see how that really just couple things actually. Um, one thing I see from it is creating a disconnection um, between each other, and I can also see where that can psychologically um, really put the child in kind of a dark place. And I say dark, I mean like they can't let go and release what is building up because
alone.
yeah, if they're trying to get something out and they don't know how to properly do it, and then they just get told to go in their room because of the way they're acting, uh, yeah, I mean, I can only imagine what they think about themselves in that moment, especially as a child. And as a parent, well, I'm not a parent yet, but as a parent, I feel like it also rejects our sense of responsibility as well.
Yes. Yeah, exactly. I think also I do want to say that I believe that we're all parents of children, and we're all children of God. So everything
Yeah,
circles. You know, you're a parent of your inner child and all that kind of stuff. So you are in your own sense too. It definitely changes in a different aspect, and it's more triggering when you have a child, but like around you all the time. But you have your inner child around you, so. But yeah, being able to I forget what I was going to say, but being able to use that and connect with them as a teaching moment, because they can definitely, it's our responsibility to really help them and give them the tools. And I can understand when parents are going through stress, and it's so much easier to be able to be like frazzled and be like, you know, go to your room. And, but like really you're saying like, go deal with that yourself. And it's like I said, they have half a brain and they don't have the tools. So that you're only going to have that, you're more likely to have that moment happen on repeat instead of taking the time once, twice, three times to be able to like give your children the tools on like how to handle that and like help them work through it. So you have less instances like that, I guess you could say. And like you said, like so many children, like we're not alone in this world. And so when we do that, we're making them and we're enforcing the belief subconsciously that they are alone. And
yeah,
that's really sad, you know?
yeah. It's crazy too. It's just so like conditioned and common for that to be the go-to. So we really don't think too deeply about that. And uh, honestly, this is like the first time that I've actually like deeply thought about that kind of scenario right there. And it kind of hits me in the heart. It's like,
And that's the thing too, is like if that's something that happened to you when you were younger, um, when we have children, like I said, like when we get upset or stressed, automatically we switch from up here to down here. Or maybe we've just been operating from down here. But you know, parents say, I never want to do what my parents did, or I would never do blank. whatever that blank is,
Oh,
because
yeah.
that's what my mom, my dad, my caregiver, or whoever did to me. But you really cannot control it unless you bring awareness to it and heal it and have the tools to handle it, because as soon as you switch to the lower centers of your brain, it's programming, it's subconscious programming, so that's automatically going to come out of your mouth. When people say I heard my mother, or I said I'll never be like my mother, but it happens anyway, that's what's happening. So like, yeah, that's why it's good to educate ourselves on it. And most people they just have children and they don't educate themselves. So, yeah.
Yeah. Wow. So, do you have any resources that would be like easy access for people to uh, get some good knowledge and information on, different practices or just information in general about
Yeah.
this kind of conscious parenting?
Um, I would. I'm going to like start putting my own stuff out there soon. So anyone can reach out to me if they wanted to like have a more personal experience. But you can. Dr. Becky Bailey has a few books out there, and she has books and she's on Audible, and also has a YouTube channel that's up to date. So there's a lot of good stuff on there. So I do highly recommend that.
I saw one of them peep back there. Oh,
Yeah.
um, awesome. Yeah, I'll be sure to post some links down in the caption after I post the video. Um, and then I was also going to ask, uh, what is this what is the study that you're in the middle of right now? What's the details of it?
So like it's called Conscious Discipline Instructor, and basically I'm going through the process and learning how to implement the tools myself, for me first, for me and my family, and then to be able to teach it and to be able to do more calls like this. And like I mentioned, there's 7 core skills for discipline and creating more empathy and compassion for the children, and um, learning from examples. So a lot of the stuff that I think is really helpful in teaching other people is like giving a lot of examples, seeing what hits home with people, and so when you know what hits home for you personally or for someone else, you know like what you need to work on that's like the most triggering for you, that you can be able to implement in your relationship with your children, your inner child, or with your partnership. So I should be I plan to be finished around January. So
Okay,
yeah.
awesome. Uh, proud of you as well. Proud of you for taking that course.
Well, we need it because the world right now is a little weird, and like with the whole masks in school and the social distancing, like we need touch and we need like connection and we need to see smiles on people's faces. And a lot of the conscious discipline and what Becky Bailey talks about, and just positive parenting in general, is like we need to have reconnection and touch and all that kind of stuff, and to be able to look into each other's eyes and like a hug and all that. And so the more that we can get this out there and like have people realize like this is needed in society, and like what other parts of this society are going towards is like not the way, you know what I mean? Like you think people would know, but sometimes it doesn't hit them until it hits them. So
Yeah, absolutely. Absolutely.
I would love to be able to like, I really see this as my life purpose. So I would love to be able to right now I'm working on, I have a group of women in my physical area where we're like, conscious discipline, positive parenting. And I would like to be able to reach out and hopefully, integrate it in more co-op like settings for homeschool co-ops and for, other schools, and create kind of like more of a conscious schooling and a conscious awareness. And my partner actually is really interested about it, doing it with like a segment just on relationships and just on like adult relationships too, because it's huge. Like I said, I mentioned for us, the reconnecting with the children, but reconnecting with our partner too throughout the day or the week is really big, especially when you have children. If you have like 2 or more children, it's like hard to get that time throughout the day, and like sometimes the only time you have is like at the end of the day when they fall asleep or something like that. So to like really like take time to like reconnect and like have an I love you ritual with your partner that you can do throughout the day is like huge. So we've been practicing that, and it's really big. So
Yeah. Okay. Yeah. Yeah. Um, there was one more thing I was gonna ask, and it was okay. This is a good one. So, how do you guys handle electronic situations?
ooh, that is a really good one. Actually, that's actually something I did want to touch on. I thought of, but I was talking about something else. So, like I said, I homeschool and I follow a lot of Montessori and Waldorf principles. Anyone listening, you can look those up. And I think Waldorf was actually founded by Rudolf Steiner, and Montessori was founded by Maria Montessori. And Maria Montessori did a lot of her own research and brain research about the hands and the connection between the hand and the brain and infant development. And Rudolf Steiner, he has tons of books, and he's a really smart guy. Um, but he has a few books, and he like founded the Waldorf principles, and there's Waldorf schools out there, and it's really founded upon like spiritual warmth, I guess you could say, for the child, and like creating a warm atmosphere in your home, and the 7 life cycles of children and adults. We always have those 7 cycles going on in our life. 0 to 7, 7 to 14, 14, on and so on. But so I really like to save the electronics for the weekend, and I know some parents have found like an hour a day works for them, like in terms of Montessori and Waldorf principles at a certain time, so it's not constantly asked for. Um, and yeah, we mostly save ours for the weekend, and my daughter can watch the show. And we just stay busy with our homeschooling stuff during the week. And I do suggest having some kind of organite backing on your phone, or an organite pyramid, or organite pendant for your child to wear even out and about. Something really important to have that people don't realize. Your child shouldn't be holding your phone, or to have it on airplane mode if you can. One of the things I found that's really important for me right now is if my daughter's out with other family or friends that maybe they don't have that kind of setting of being able to offset the EMFs and stuff like that, is to have her wear an organite pendant. Same with my son. That way I know wherever she goes, she's
Should
at
be
least,
protected a little from the.
yes, I'm doing the proactive thing instead of like trying to control everyone. Like I said, we can't control people. We can only take the effective measures for ourselves to protect ourselves. So.
Yeah, instead of like, just like, projecting onto your parents or something and being like, ah man, like you guys don't have it secure and stuff like that, just like uh that's the that's the beauty of the abundance of life here is, there's so many different ways that you can like either wear or place something, especially stones, that there's really like not even an excuse to like not be able to have um, the energetic stone on you or on somebody else, because there's bracelets, there's rings, there's pendants, there's earrings. I mean, there's so many things. Um, and I'm glad you brought up the organite, because I feel like that's huge, especially for children with as much as they're attached to electronics. And another really powerful stone that helps with that as well is shungite.
Okay, yeah, we have some shungite here. Yeah, I know sometimes they mix shungite in with the organite pyramids or the organite stuff. Yeah, that's a good one.
Uh, Black tourmaline as well.
Okay, yeah. That's good. I have some in my altar, but I was thinking about like getting like a little bracelet or something, you know, in case they want to take their pendant off for some reason, or when they're out and about. So, but yeah, I definitely agree. And like I said, with the electronics, I don't think anything's wrong with it as long as it's educational and you're time managing it properly. But I do think it's important to like so many shows. I personally make sure I've watched whatever my child is going to be watching.
Yeah.
So I know like what is going on, and like it's not like negative or name calling, or it's something. I also like to get like really old school kind of shows that aren't so up to date, because the images, they flash like really really quick, and they're super like, some of them are like like crazy like music, and I make sure that it like suits everyone in the household. So like it's got nice music in the background, it's kind of slower themed, it's like based in nature, so like it's like that kind of thing. And like I said, she'll only watch on the weekends for like an hour, and it won't always be like 1 hour at a time. It'll be like 30 minutes in the morning, 30 minutes at like after dinner or something like that, you know.
Okay.
And so, and we're getting to the point, I actually just ordered her a book, and it's based off of Waldorf principles. So like, you know, some children watch fairy tales, or you can like read them fairy tales. So I want to get to the point where I can read the fairy tales myself and like kind of memorize them. This is kind of deep, but like, and then be able to like do it like word of mouth kind of thing. To
Yeah.
like get her attention instead of having the attention span be put on to like the electronic device or whatever, what have you.
Right. Then
So
again,
like games and shows I think are fine if they're educational and they're like balanced, and like the humor is not like super like inappropriate. You
yeah,
know?
that's right. Yeah, and then it also allows you to, be able to move around, be the character too while you're talking about it too.
Yeah. Exactly. It's fun. You can dress up. We have play soaks here at our house, and like they're great for anything, for like tents or for like little capes, or like you can like make a little crown with them. And so we're big into like open-ended toys, which if anyone's into like minimalism or stuff like that, open-ended toys are great, because they're good for like all ages. So like a few examples of open-ended toys would be like play silks, like figurines that you could always use no matter what age, like animals or something like that, and it's like play and imagination, and some kind of like, you know, like playhouse, or like for them to like reenact housing. We have like a little castle here, and we try and do a lot of wooden toys, because I think that gives them a sense of like quality, and like respecting their things. And like I think some people get worried like, what if they're gonna like throw that wood thing that's like super hard and like you know, but I think it's like for the most part taught her to like, because it's heavy, it's got sustenance to it, whereas like a lot of plastic toys are super lightweight, they could just like throw it and whatever. So I think it teaches her to like, you know, be like careful with her things, like take good care of it. And yeah, but we have plastic toys too, but it's good to like, I try and aim for just open-ended toys, that way you're not like overwhelmed with a bunch of stuff. So, and quality, a lot of Waldorf and Montessori is just like quality materials. I think a lot of people give children like the super cheap paint brushes and the super cheap paint, and like I couldn't even really make anything with that, you know. So like giving them like a really good start of like having a sense of like warmth and like quality to their things, and like have a sense for beauty and life and like aesthetics, and like not that life is about that, but to just appreciate like those kind of things, and like supporting that kind of thing as they get older, and like knowing that you respected them enough to give them like if you can. I mean, I know some things are like expensive, so we don't always do that, but like for things that they're really interested as they get older in, you know, that kind of thing. I know when I was younger, I was like interested in a lot of like art stuff, and like I didn't really get like a lot of like good quality stuff to really like further my interest in that. So yeah, I don't know. I think that's important.
That's a good point. Yeah. never really thought about that, but it makes sense, And I feel like they definitely do deserve to have, better quality uh, of art and toys and stuff like that.
Yeah, we thrift a lot of our stuff. So a lot of people say like a lot of wooden stuff is expensive, but I mean, I go to the thrift store, I get stuff for like $2, $3. So it's pretty cool. It's fun what you can find too, and she'll find something and pick it out. So
Yeah, that's awesome. Um, oh, what I was gonna ask was, so from parent friends that I have heard of a couple of, they're not mainstream, but I've heard of some children shows that actually are like conscious based and like they'll have um, they'll have like cartoon characters and then they'll have like actual people in it. And then like the actual people and the cartoon characters will basically just be like, talking about nature and animals and basically just like consciousness. And
oh, that's
I
cool.
thought
I
that
don't
was
think I've heard
cool.
of that.
I'll have to ask my friend what it was called again, and I'll send it over to you. But I was wondering, are there any games or shows that you found that
Yeah,
are very pure and helpful?
I think one of the shows I really like for my daughter is it's actually one I used to watch when I was little. It's called Little Bear.
Oh man, I
That
love that one.
that one is great. It's super like the intro I swear is like literally a minute long, which is pretty long for shows nowadays.
Yeah,
But it's so cute. They're out in nature, they're playing. It's like I like it because even like, not everyone celebrates like mass produced holidays or whatever. And they do like they mention like the winter solstice or the equinox. So I thought that was pretty
really.
cool. Yeah, so it's not always like, or if they had like a Valentine Day theme, it would be like they just called it Love Day. So I thought that was cute.
Mhm.
And so that is one that she watches, and there's another one called Maisie Mouse, and these are on YouTube. So like I'll play it on YouTube and I'll set it up for her somewhere. And I have it on my phone. We don't have a TV, so I just like we play it on like my YouTube, and she'll watch a show, and then when it's done, it's done. But Maisie Mouse, it's a cute one. It's very abstract, which I like. There's not a lot going on in the background. It's just like, and there's like no, I don't know, maybe that could be controversial, but there's no like parents in it. It's just like this little mouse, and she plays. She has like three friends, and they just like do stuff, and it's cute because it's abstract, and so, um, and
You
yeah, I
said
think
Little
those are.
Bear. When you said Little Bear, it reminded me of Franklin.
Yeah, I remember Franklin too. Yeah, I used to watch that
Franklin.
when I was younger. That one. Those are cute ones. Yeah. So those are the two that I really like. Oh, and a game that I really like is there's one that's called I looked up Montessori games um, that are like helpful for children, and this one is called Tiny Tap, and the games are actually created by teachers, and I think most of them are pretty good and okay. They're probably a little bit more modern than I would like prefer, but they should be fine for anyone really. I looked through a lot of them, and it's just that there are a lot of learning games, so like um, that's helpful too. Like we don't have like the tribes right now, so I mean I understand in terms of like shows and like games for your children, but I think it's important to limit it and to have it at a certain time of day and like kind of like a routine with it so they know that they can't like just like binge all the time.
Yeah,
And also to remember like I don't know about you, my parents let me watch TV whenever, and there were times when I did, I just whenever just sit there all day or watching Nick
like
on
video game,
Sunday.
TV.
So yeah, so like we came out okay. It's not the end of the world. Like we came through it, and we're like these like I would say pretty aware people. So it's gonna be okay as long as it's not like you know super like violent, whatever.
Yeah, definitely. Um, yeah, and it's so interesting too, because like even I mean, even though I was playing like, games like Grand Theft Auto and Call of Duty and stuff like that back in the day, I don't see how that like really programmed me to just like, be a violent person or be hateful and stuff like that. But I also do see how that can program
Yes, it
people.
like depends on everyone's situation. I feel like it also depends on like the soul type that you are. Like, are you a positively motivated soul, or are you someone that kind of leans more into like depression, or did you have like a really hard time growing up? You know what I mean? And I think there's pros and cons to everything. Like, I have a younger brother, he's 16, and like he was like super into Minecraft and everything. And I sat down and like I like watched him play at one time, and like I could see how it's super good for like building and that kind of thing. And like I said, I think those things are fine if they're like monitored, and it's like, it could, some people like make a living off of that kind of stuff. So it's like their thing.
Yeah,
What's that thing called Twitch I heard about or something like
yeah,
that?
the live streams.
Yeah. So like we're like, with technology, we're like ever growing, and if it's like, beneficial.
That's something we gotta embrace too as humanity.
Yeah.
We gotta embrace we gotta embrace the fact that technology is here and it's only gonna grow with us. Like it's not here and then like it's not just gonna go away. Like I see so many uh spiritual minded people that get polarized by it and they think it's like, nothing but the devil and stuff like that. But it's like
Yeah.
it obviously has a purpose here and you also use it every day in a beneficial way in some sort. So
And they see, and like I said, we're modeling for our children. So when they see us on our phone throughout the day, like we don't sit and read a book while they're playing anymore. We don't sit and read the magazine while they're playing anymore, or like read an article in the magazine. Everything's on our phone. So like if they see us on our phones, like, and we say like, you can't have it, it's kind of like contradicting. Like we're modeling, you know what I mean? So like it's funny because my mom collected like a whole bunch of like these old phones that we used to have, and they're just like they're all dead. The batteries are out of them. Like, and so like my daughter will like play toy with them or whatever, and like that's fine. but but yeah, like you said, like it's part of our thing now, and so my daughter is really into, because I take pictures and like put them on, and she's always like take a picture, take a picture. So like she's like practicing with my phone like how to take pictures and stuff like that. So
that's awesome.
yeah, that's cool. I do think, I don't know, I haven't gotten there yet. When they get older, it's like a whole nother world with the internet
Oh
and,
yeah, I can only imagine.
adults on there. And I know when I was younger, there were probably things that I should not have seen that I saw at the age that I was. And yeah, so like that's definitely a thing that I'm like getting ready to like learn about, in like how I'm gonna navigate that. But that's definitely something that needs some kind of whatever.
Yeah, I know exactly what you mean. I've seen some very inappropriate websites back in school. I remember I'd be sitting there on the school computer and my friends would like put these websites on. And I'm just like, what?
On the school computer. Oh my god, that's crazy. Yeah, that's crazy.
Oh man. Oh, so I do have another question, and this one is regarding um, food and drinks. Now, how do you go about um, diets with them? Because I know you and your partner are mainly plant-based, right?
Hmm. Yeah, we're vegan. We're plant based. So we feed her whole foods, and I believe it's important when they're young, especially up until like 2 years, to like try not give them any like processed foods if you can. My daughter will be 3 next month, and so like it's okay, but it's okay, whatever. But like they establish their like sense of taste and like what they crave and like all that kind of stuff people say. So I personally like to give her some whole foods, but I mean we have some like vegan, fun, junk food sometimes. It's no big deal. Like, that's part of life too. Like you said, like, we can't be completely polarized to it. And you have family and friends, like, we have family and friends that aren't plant-based, so, like, they want to, like, be a part of that. And they know that we're vegan, and so they make meals accordingly, or we'll bring our own stuff. And yeah, so I have a page for some of like the vegan meals that we share for our family, and it's called Veganic Revolution. It's on Instagram and Facebook, and so yeah,
Veganic Revolution.
Veganic Revolution. Yeah,
I'll definitely be sure to post that as well in the caption.
lots of smoothies and tofu scrambles, and
That sounds good.
we can have picky eaters sometime. My daughters, that's something I've been learning the past couple weeks, because some children are different. Sometimes they don't like their food to mix, and they won't eat
Yeah,
it. I'm definitely big on not like forcing her to be like, you didn't eat all your food. Like, you can't get up from the table unless you eat all your food,
yeah,
because children know, like they know, like, if they're full or if they just don't like it, or like there's so much that they may not be able to communicate. And so like we always say, like, if she wants to eat fruit, she'll eat fruit any day, all day. If she wants to eat that instead of having like the dinner that we made, like, that's fine with us. And like, if she wants to get up and not finish dinner, I personally am like, that's fine. I'm just gonna like take your plate away, because when you get up from the table, you're telling me like you're done eating. So I do that. I like, not in a negative way, like, just like, okay, this is what it is. You said, you're done. I'm putting it away. So that way she knows, like, for the next however many days or like weeks, when she gets up from the table, she knows that that's when she's telling me that she's done. And so I'm kind of teaching her the tools to say, like, okay, you got to learn what they like and what they don't like, and give them variety of things. And some children, if they're not like into like tasting new things, just to like have like some kind of sense involved with it, whether it's they just like, you want them to like taste something just one time, and they're just like, no, no, no. Well, like, even just smelling it is like, okay, like, just getting their senses involved. So, and like repeatedly, because sometimes it takes a while for your taste buds to change and develop, and you're in different spaces and different phases and development in life. So just
yeah,
kind of like re-bringing it up for them, and like not like forcing them to eat, or like eat more of these bites, because that's kind of controlling.
yeah. That's like
Yeah.
that's like that toxic masculinity energy
Yeah.
for sure.
So
It kind of
that's
goes back where you said,
I said that's what we're working on right now.
yeah, the whole collective.
Yeah.
Uh, but yeah, going back to like earlier and what we were talking about with kind of like the like setting them off to their room type of deal is, I feel like it's kind of like that same aspect in a way when we're telling them like you can't get up, you have to eat this, or um, finish all this in order to be able to um, be done. And it's like it really just shuts them down from being their own being and being who they are. And it's like, um, yeah, I just see how that can do more blocking and really psychologically put them in a place where they could feel less than, or um, develop into doing the same and controlling other people.
Yeah, and like, I think you gotta think too, like, a lot of people are like, for me, when I was younger, because I'm plant-based now, so I'm vegan. I don't eat meat or dairy, and I didn't like eating meat. I was like, when I made the connection, like, all these shows and all these stuffed animals are like cute little animals, and then all of a sudden it was on my plate, and I was like, what? Like, I was so confused, and I was like, God, I love them. So I didn't want to eat them, but I was told, like, you have to finish your food and all that stuff. So it was like, creating that disconnect. And as soon as I was old enough, I was like 16, I went vegetarian, when I could like prep my own food and stuff like that. And yeah, so as soon as I was old enough to like be in charge of myself, I guess you could say, that's when I was able to make that switch for myself. But I want to honor that for my child, and like, and we teach, that like we love the animals, and we don't want to hurt them or cause them harm. And I have some like like reading some books is like really educating, but I think that just comes secondhand with children, you know, like with in terms of animals.
Mm,
So
yeah.
and what else was I going to say? But yeah, like also, you know, saying that they have to eat that, like that can cause like um, food issues, whether it's like bulimic or obese or whatever it may be, in terms of all of that too. So yeah.
Yeah, it's like no wonder when we were younger, so many people didn't like eating their greens because they were being like forced to eat their greens, you know?
I have a funny story about greens.
Uh-oh.
So we've been wanting to eat like even more greens lately, and so my partner bought kale the other day, and like usually we'll cook it, we'll like mix it in her food, and I showed her a video of like a bunny eating kale. I was like, just like out of fun and out of funniness, and oh my god, she loved it. So she started taking the kale out of the bag. I was like, look, I'm a bunny. And so sometimes you
Yeah.
just have to find cool things like that, and
Wow,
she kept asking for more and more after that, and I was
that's
like, that's
genius.
so you gotta find like really fun ways and not make it like I had to be unattached. Like I didn't care whether she ate it or not in the moment. I can't be like, I'm not doing it out of like a manipulating way. You know what I mean? I'm not saying like, look at this bunny, like he's eating his kale, like that kind of thing. I was just like, yeah, like look at this bunny, like they eat kale, they eat leaves too, you know? And whether she did it or not, kind of being unattached to that, because they can sense that if you are. They can like they we have our IQ, right? And we use it for all these things during the day and getting all this stuff done. Well, they just have it to like be playing and to like be interacting with you. So like that's why children are like so smart when it comes to like whatever you want to call like sneaky things or like being on to us, because they're using all their IQ to like interact with us too.
Discern.
So like they know, they're smart, they know. So like I try not be like,
Oh yeah.
you know, manipulative like that, so they can sense that.
Um, so something that um, that a good friend of mine would share with me when it came to her kids was uh, so she was like very open about food and stuff too. And she's plant-based, so she would like let her kids want to experience like other things if they wanted to, but she would also kind of explain to them so they have awareness on like um, possible consequences of eating something, like eating like dairy or something, and what it could do to the stomach and stuff like that. And I think that's really cool because I feel like there is a big lack just in general when it comes to consequences of what we're eating. And if children at a young age can receive this information and the truth about what they're eating, I feel like it'll definitely help with the revolution of becoming more clean and pure with our food. And I don't say that as in like, everybody become vegan, just as in um, becoming aware of
Where
where it's coming from, the way it's being made into food, and where it's being stored. Because personally, as a plant-based person, um, I have no issue at all with people eating meat or dairy, but it's just the fact of the way it's done in the mainstream is just awful.
mm-hmm.
Factory
Yeah, yes, yes.
farming, um, separating the calf from the mother. Um, I mean, so many other things: the hormones, the drugs, the stress, the anxiety, the fear, everything, all that stuff. Um, Now compare that to someone who has a few acres and a farm, and they're allowing their animals to free roam and live their full life and enjoying the time with the family and the children and stuff like that. And then it comes time for them to move on and pass away from this earth. Then I see that purity and the righteousness of using its body for food.
And, and that's kind of like what the natives did too. Like, and if they, you know, were killing something for food, they like did it respectfully. And like, yeah, we don't really have that awareness about our stuff. Someone's doing it for us, and we don't even know how they're doing it, and like their whole like ethical practices. One of the main things that made me go vegan compared to a vegetarian was, this was before I was a mother. Gosh, like I said, I was vegetarian at 16. I think I went vegan at like 20, like 19 or 20. And I'm just turned 25, and I'm a young mother. But yeah, as was seeing the mother calf and the baby calf, and like seeing them separated, and knowing like that milk wasn't meant specifically for us. It was for the baby calf, and like even having my own children now and knowing like that's their life force energy. It's like, and sometimes we produce excess, and that's okay. Like you said, like I get if someone was on a farm and like there was a mom cow and a baby cow, and they were like, and she had excess milk. Like sometimes you produce more. Like when I think after birth, you can like produce enough for like 3 babies, like as like having one child. And so like I think that's okay, but like doing it in like a forced way and like huge separation anxiety, and then you're taking on that energy is like, yeah, something that I learned that I didn't really want to like support. Yeah.
Yeah.
I do with my daughter learn how to tell her that, like as our family personally, we eat plant-based, and then I'll be like educating her on that stuff when she's able to like understand it more. And once she gets to a certain age, she can like, try what she wants. But I want her to be able to be at the age when I explain it to her that she can really understand like that certain food and dyes in food are literally like poison to the body. And so like I really do want to wait until she's at the age where like she can understand a little bit of that science and that kind of stuff, so that she can like make an actual educated choice over just being like kind of like, well, this tastes good, or this tastes really, really sweet. You know what I mean? Like
Yeah.
this Coke has high fructose corn syrup in it, and I think it tastes better, but I don't know that high fructose corn syrup is like times 50 sugar. Like.
Yeah, that's how they really get us is that taste with all these artificial sweets. And oh man, it's so misconceiving.
There's a lot of good alternatives out there though for
Yeah.
like vegan candy, and like that it's like
Oh,
kind
yeah.
of like more natural and fruit based, so that's cool. So we give our child like some of that sometimes as like a little treat or something, so she don't feel left out. Like if we're gonna go to like a birthday party and someone's not vegan, like we'll make sure that we bring our own stuff too, and like you want to bring enough for everyone else in case anyone else wants to try some, and that could be like a whole nother topic of like, so it's cool.
Yeah, that's a pretty nice thing is that another thing with the abundance that we're in is there's like alternative plant-based alternative to like everything now. And it's so beautiful and so awesome because me personally, I love desserts and I love candy and stuff like that. But just, being as conscious as I am now with myself, I definitely know that I cannot continuously keep eating like a lot of dairy and a lot of artificial sweets and dyes and stuff like that. So I have found a lot of alternatives from plant-based cookies to brownies to candy like there's even like Swedish fish and like
I was
peach
gonna say that's my favorite, the vegan Swedish
fish.
fish. we made vegan s'mores last night. That was good. I hadn't had a s'more since like maybe I went vegan or something, so that was exciting.
How did you do
But
them?
I can't eat too much of it because I actually really do like enjoy like the high vibe foods and like nourishing foods, and that stuff makes me feel dense sometimes. But it's exciting comfort food that's vegan. That's like to have the alternatives is like really exciting. So like
Yeah, definitely.
I do have to head out because my partner has another call here, and I gotta take the children. So
Okay, awesome. Well, this was incredible, and thank you very much for joining. It was a beautiful time, and there is nothing but gems throughout this whole entire conversation, and I definitely trust it will reach who it needs to. And oh wow, this is amazing.
Well, thank you so much for having me. I just started a YouTube channel. It's called With Maya on YouTube, and it's just kind of like vlog style, lifestyle, but I want to be sharing more of like, I share some of our vegan meals on there. I want to share more of like just actually one-on-one videos of me talking about conscious discipline. I've kind of been waiting to do that until like I'm like certified. So, but there's that, and then yeah, my Instagram is the Conscious Empath, and then I have an Instagram, Facebook, Veganic Revolution too. So.
Okay, great. I'll definitely be sure to post all of your links in the caption along with that author that you.
Dr. Becky Bailey, yes.
Uh, so yeah, if you could just send me, the links, and then I'll post it in the caption. And then if you want me to, I'll also send you the video, so you can post it on your channel if you'd like.
Sounds wonderful.
Awesome.
Thank you so much for having me, Marcus. It's wonderful.
Namaste. Much love. Have a beautiful day.
You too.
Thank you.
The illest to be, no ego, machismo with fuego, kundalini is my payroll, saucy like queso, watch me with a wrist, no watch, only crystal bracelets, yeah we stay lit, yeah we stay lit.